Welcome to JGTCR. I'm Cope, and today we are taking a look at the new vehicles available on GT7 after update 1.62. Let's get into it. Update 1.62 brings us 4 new vehicles. We will be test driving each and providing a stabilizer tune after installing all the top tier parts currently available for them. However, these are preliminary tunes, so keep an eye out for the tuner series also available on this channel for more detailed and fleshed out tunes. So without further ado, let's dive in to our first vehicle. The AFEELA 126 is an update to a vehicle we already have on GT7, and while it does drive very much like the pre-existing model, it does seem to AFEELA a bit more refined. This updated version feels more stable and slides around a lot less. That being said, we do still get a fairly heavy floating sensation from the front end when we get on throttle. And when braking, we get the good old Mr. Plow effect with a considerable amount of understeer. So is it better than the one we already have? Yeah, maybe. But is it by a lot? Yeah, nah, not really. So let's take a look at the tune sheet and see if it's any better after modification. With the only tweaks available being to suspension, aero and ballast, we are limited to what we can do tune-wise. The handling was a bit slide happy at the tail end, so we firmed it up and pinned it down. It is now more planted while cornering, but can still let loose if we are heavy-handed on inputs. Jumping on the throttle too quickly causes understeer, while jumping off the brakes too fast causes oversteer. In addition to this, the AFEELA likes to always have either brakes or throttle applied to keep it stable, so slightly overlapping brake and throttle as we apply them is recommended. At the end of the day, this AFEELA is just a slightly better version of what we already have. And if we're being honest, no one really cared for the prototype version, so the AFEELA 126 will more than likely end up in the same bucket. The Chevrolet Corvette CX concept. Well, what can we say about an imaginary car in an imaginary realm? It has been clearly stated that these vehicles will never go into production, so what they're doing on GT7 is well beyond me. This VGT situation is getting more out of control than it already is, but I digress. The CX is automatic, which kills lots of the drivability of this vehicle. The handling on this Corvette is wonky. It's hard to take corners when the car wheel spins from 4,000 to 22,000 RPM. When wheel spin occurs, it feels completely unnatural. It whines and shakes, but the kick it delivers is strange. It's like riding a bike with training wheels when you already know how to ride well. The power and power delivery is complete and utter bullcrap. It's loud, sounds weird, revs hard and fast, but it's very out of place. Overall, this is another friggin' spaceship in a motorsport/simulator racing game. Let's take a look at the tune sheet and head back out. Surprise, surprise, surprise. The only thing we can do to this vehicle is tires, which, while making us faster, makes the handling much worse. The understeer has been bumped up a few notches and now interferes with driving more so than it did before. Apart from that, everything is about the same. Oh well, what can we do but move on to the next one? The Chevrolet Corvette CX.R is a race version of the previous vehicle we just drove. But is it any better? Well, it has been manualized now and it has some downforce to help with stability. But it's still not enough to bring it back into my good graces. The RPM has been made much more reasonable than the non-race version, but it still suffers many of the same symptoms. The handling is much more reasonable, and with some gears to shift into, we now have much more control of how this Chevy moves on track. However, the steering is easily unsettled. Even bumps can set off an understeer surprise party just for you. The power and power delivery is again more reasonable thanks to tyres and gearing. But it does still feel like we are being pandered to with this vehicle. At the end of the day, yes, it is much better, but there is still a very sour taste left in our mouths after driving this Chevy. It should also be noted that the three vehicles we have covered so far can only be used in a one-make race if we intend to drive them while making a custom race. While creating the intro and outro video, I was forced to use the Renault so I could put all vehicles on the screen at the same time. And that just ain't cool. But anyway, let's take a look at the Tuned. Once again, we have been locked out of any kind of modification and tuning. What an absolute joke. I swear it seems like PD are just testing how low the bar can go in what they deliver in these updates. Oh well, what can you do? On to the next one. The Renault Avantime. A cherry on top of the turd pie that is update 1.62. No, seriously, this is the best vehicle from this update. Not because I'm a fan of this chassis, but purely because it is a real car that actually exists that we can modify and tune freely as we see fit. This Renault handles about as well as anyone would think an FF pseudo SUV minivan would. The handling is quite understeerish with a good side of body roll. Everything we do feels wobbly and top heavy. The steering is a bit janky. The soft and floaty front end will have us constantly guessing if we will be allowed to turn in. The power is low in general, but reasonable for the package. It will wheel spin if we come in hot and overcook corners, but that's entirely on us. If we hit the brakes hard, it starts Wobblefest 2025. But if we take it easy on inputs, everything is golden. Let's check out the Tuned and get back out on track. The ability to tune a vehicle to full extent means we can customize the driving experience we get. And while this one may not be super fast, it is as manageable as we wish to make it. The handling does well, but still throws some understeer our way on full throttle out of turns. The power is up just over 500 horsepower, and it deals with it nicely. It's fairly smooth throughout the rev range, but seems to run out of puff in the last quarter of the revs. While this Renault is much more stable, it can still be a bit wonky under brakes, but it does slow us down reasonably if we keep our braking mostly to straight lines. There it is, and there you have it. Another update and another handful of cars added to the lineup on GT7. Unfortunately, the last couple of updates have been a bit lackluster, and this one falls right into line. Let's hope that Polyphony Digital does better in future, but if I'm being honest, I'm not holding my breath. And that's all we have for you today, so until next time, keep racing!